Okay, in this version of today, we're going to be following up on 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. The follow-up to the first half of the verse where God let Paul know that his grace is sufficient, for power is made perfect through weaknesses. And we took a look at that principle, and it's an amazing principle. Well, we're going to take a look at the second half of this verse and get excited about it, because we are going to learn to celebrate our limitations. Now, wouldn't that be a great thing? If we could celebrate our limitations, we would have a lot to celebrate. And so let's jump into this. The verse clearly says this: "Most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me." I'll read that again. "Most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me." So what's the question? If we took that verse and made it into a question, what would the question? You've got "most gladly, I will boast about my weaknesses, so that," that's kind of telling me why. So the question could be, why do I need to celebrate my limitations? Now, most of us don't think about that, because most of us are trying to ignore our limitations, trying to cover our limitations, trying to avoid them. And quite frankly, maybe we need to celebrate them. Get them out in the open. Why? Because it is an invitation to Christ to fill me with his power. So let's turn this into a spiritual principle. Okay? In celebrating my limitations, what is that exactly? Well, here's the principle. Celebrating my limitations is an open invitation to Christ and his sufficiency in my life. Remember, we talked about last week how Christ is enough. If I'm able to celebrate my limitations, this is actually an open invitation to Christ and his sufficiency in my life. Now, this does reflect the text and answer the question that the text raised, which we also raised. And it also helps make sense of the larger context of the passage, which I would encourage you to go ahead and read the rest of the context there in chapter 12, because I'm going to hang one more week, next week, in this section of Scripture too as well. So let's think about application questions, okay? So as we go through application, first, what makes me afraid when I'm asked to do something? Is it not our limitations? Because we ask the question, well, what if I can't handle it? Okay, there's a question for you. We don't celebrate our limitations then, do we? Do I tend to dismiss jobs I know I can't do? In other words, I don't even want to try. 3, would God ask me to do something too hard for me and beyond my abilities? Would he do that? Would there be a good reason why he would do something like that? And when was the last time God stretched me? And how did that go? Did I back off and say, never again? Those things happen. Can I celebrate my limitations? And what would that even look like, to celebrate my limitations? Could celebration of my limitations change my hopeless attitude, my sense of hopelessness? Powerful idea. Would I be afraid of my inadequacies? You say, well, I don't know that every time we turn down a job because we think we can't do it, fear is one of the reasons why we might care not to do that. Could I not feel unstoppable without the overconfidence and arrogant attitude? Oh yeah, sure, I can handle that. Would I not be more objective? Well, because you're not looking inside yourself for all the answers now, are you? What weaknesses can I celebrate? Right now, when I think about my life, what weaknesses can I celebrate? Who are those weaknesses connected to? And when I think about those weaknesses, who comes to mind? And could God be calling me to celebrate my weaknesses so I'm not overwhelmed or intimidated by that person? Because people can make us afraid. Now, I hope you see the ramifications of this spiritual principle in your life. The ramification is you can actually be unstoppable with an attitude of an overcomer without all the pompous arrogance that goes along with it, and not afraid to jump in the middle of something if you really sense God is calling you to it. So I hope this blesses you. It's definitely impacted me and causes me to put my confidence in the Lord rather than myself. God bless, and you have a good day.